Hi, welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about rhythms, a multitude of different types of rhythms, human rhythms, solar rhythms, rhythms of trauma as well, how they affect you, me, us, and how they can also help us. So first of all, I'd just like to sort of like your glimpse of how rhythms have affected your professional career or even your life personally. You know, since we've been talking over the last 6 or whatever years it is, you've really sort of honed in on that. It seems to really help you a
Well,
lot.
I found it fascinating when you actually write it down pen on paper and see how certain things are repeated through life, or major events seem to show up at specific points in life. And actually writing it down and noticing that every 3 years or every 6 years something major happens. It's fascinating. I've never really put the dots together to look at why. So human rhythms has become very interesting in my work. People coming to visit me a lot of the time ask the same question. So why do things keep happening? Why do I keep attracting the same people? Why does this keep happening?
The repetitive things
yeah,
about rhythms.
there's no answers, no logical answer to why that happens. So it's but some kind of structure by understanding the basic human rhythm. So maybe if you could just explain that.
Well, Alex, I have, you can see on multitudes of videos about my healing and stuff like that. And one of the things I realized about a healing thing as well is that this repeating rhythm that it comes up in everybody's life. It tends to come up within the traumas because that's the things we really noticed. But what I found interesting was the initial construction of the human basic rhythms in life, which we all have and we all adhere to. And that helps us to sort of get that, it gels us together in a way in life. So principally, humans have six fundamental rhythms. And then those rhythms are repeated normally 4 times. Okay, so, and I think, once we go into all the, all the food stuff and all the health stuff as well, I think we could possibly get up to 6 rhythms, which would be amazing, because if we can do, you're looking at lifespans going to 120, 30, 40, depending on how well we can look after the bodies. But that's something that's something to do with the evolution. Let's get back to our fundamental rhythms here. Now, as I said, there's 6 of them. So when you're born, if you like, it takes 9 months to have the gestation period. And if you look at the rhythm of energy within the earth, you have a 9-month rhythm of energy where you have winter period where it doubles, and then you have spring when it goes up by a third, and then summer, and then it goes up by a quarter, and then it goes back to its basic and stays at the basic level during autumn. And that gave me that whole idea of the 9-month rhythm, and you have 3 months where you have like a moment of pause in a way. So you have this 9-month gestation. It's not digestive. Sometimes it can be really digestive having a pregnancy. I personally only know from a male side, but so this gestation period usually lasts around about sort of 9 months, 8 3/4 or something. And when a child comes out the other side, when they're born and they're engaging in life, they don't actually focus upon you. They have I'm convinced that they can see auras. We can all see auras from the get-go. That's why kids they don't have a focal point. They're looking at the general energy that is around and constantly looking around you. And so then they can see the energy that corresponds to them for food when they're looking at their mother or father. There's a big difference between the two. So in those first 9 months, it is the fundamental 9 months about understanding what our pleasures are. And because we can't go anywhere, we can't walk, we can't talk, all we can do is absorb and observe the world that is around us. So for the first 9 months, we discover all the things that we like and don't like in regards to colours, temperatures, odours, tastes, smells, all of those sort of things. Tastes a little bit less, but all those sort of things, because a child will put something in its mouth straight away, because then they'll be able to get everything apart from the colour and the sound, the sound of it, but they may get the sound within their mouth.
And they do put everything in their mouth.
Quite literally. In that first 9 months, you have that rhythm there. Then After that, then we go from 9 months to 18 months. Now, 9 months to 18 months is the moment they start walking. They get their first taste of independence. They start talking as well, which can be a good and bad thing, as we all well know. But, we start talking at that point there. And that's when they start experiencing. And the pinnacle of that is really the going into the section which we all know of the kids, which is them being able to say no.
The terrible twos.
The terrible twos. They start getting into that no, no, no. So they're discovering between 9 months and 18 months their first initial boundaries, but those boundaries have been also in play already for the first 9 months as well. So the accumulation is about 18 months. That's a year and a half. And then if you take 18 months, and then we go for 18 months to 36 months, which is 3 years. And then we get to the 3 years stage where now they're really starting pushing the boundaries where they can walk and they can go where they want and everything like that. And they're also meeting other children. So they're testing the first time of friendship and they don't want to share. They start learning about that sort of process that goes through that. So they're learning about their sort of limits and also their pleasures, which they should have learned within the first sort of 9 months, and exploring all of those sort of connections with the world around us. And then from 3 years to 6 years, and that rhythms are all constantly going, even from the birth. So up to around about 6 is where we get into the idea of imposing ourselves upon the world that is around us. It's first glimpses in being political in the way of which we do with friendship. She's my best friend, she's not my best friend, the programs we like and stuff like that. And as we start getting older, so then the next rhythm there, so that's 3, is that 3 then? 9 months, 18 months, 3 years, 6 years, that's 4 rhythms, sorry. Okay, and then the 5th rhythm is going from 6 years to 12 years. Now that's like a perfection of everything they learnt within the first 5 years, all about sort of political, sort of physical, what they can do physically, what they can do verbally, all of those sort of things, their limits of yes and no, what they can get away with, boundaries and all of that. From the age of 12, we go into, you get ovulation that starts and, the puberty, basically. Now that's the magic of life. That's what the pentagram delivers. Now, obviously, the pentagram can be positive and negative, like all odd star shape geometry. We could do another video on geometry, sacred geometry, it's amazing. But anyway, 5, the 5th rhythm there is when you get to the top of the 5th rhythm, that's when the puberty starts. And that's when your energy changes. So before the age of puberty, it's very difficult for a child to have a desire, an sex desire for someone, because they don't have the length of rhythm within their chakras. Once you get puberty gets put into place, the sacrum changes and you get a longer shaped chakra, which gives you a lot more depth. So you get, rather than having just the idea of fight and flight up to the age of 12, you had fight, flight and coupling, which changes a lot of aspects. So then between the ages of 12 and 24, that's when we really experiment with all the possibilities and the principles of our understanding of who we are, what we like, what we don't like, everything about us that we can explore. And that's what the first 24 years is like, an apprenticeship. And within that apprenticeship,
it's like trying out stuff as an adult, looking at the adult and having a go.
Totally. We do all our education during that point, get our exams, get our first jobs, doing all our apprenticeships. You're not playing for real at that point. It's almost as if like energy sort of kind of gives you that first 24 years and kind of go, right, try it out. You will be, any traumas you do have within your youth, you will be carrying all the way. You can carry all the way through your life, but it's from the age of 24, we move into those same rhythms, all those rhythms there repeat but almost invert themselves. So we go from 24 to 48, and those are the years that I call the creation years, we create a family, we create a job, our career path, everything about us. Our own real persona, our true persona comes to the fore that we are creating. And then from 48, as females will well know, you get into the menopause years. So then therefore you can no longer create. For a male, it's the entrepause that we have. So males tend to go out and buy, like motorbikes. Who would ever do anything like that? You know what I mean? Buy motorbikes. And, it's like being 18 again, I guess, that sort of thing. So you get that sort of thing from 48 to 72. And I call them the wisdom years. So basically, you can explain sort of said, I understood that for the first 24 years, and I did that, and that's the result. I can't change what I've done, but what you can do is you can take my life apart and you can take anything that helps you to engage or face life that you're living and just throw away anything that doesn't help you. So that's where I can pass on my wisdom to other younger generations, to what I have understood, what got me to where I am. And then from 72 to 96, you can pretty much do what you like. It's a sort of like kind of like
reversing, isn't it?
It's a complete reversing. It's almost going back to childhood. So we get this full circle of life. And if you look at us when we're really old, we tend to do, we sleep a lot more, and we tend to be like kids, babies are, and I can't wait. All that sleeping is going to be brilliant. So there are those fundamental rhythms. So those first 6 rhythms there will set in place a lot of things for your future engagement. And understanding those first 24 rhythms is really important, because we tend to revisit them when we're 48. The amount of people that get to 48 and sort of turn around and kind of go, who am I?
Yeah, so it's an absolute point of reflection. And a lot of people that I've treated, they come in and it is a point where they start reviewing and, maybe reflecting too hard on certain things, but it's a period of consolidation and a perfect time actually to pass on the wisdom to their children, or even grandchildren,
even to ourselves.
Yeah, it's a very poignant time, I think, in our lives, and I didn't until you pinpointed it for me, 48. But then I kept seeing 48, 49-year-olds, coming to me and all going through this very, very similar process of reflection.
That's the whole menopause thing. You know what I mean? This is why it's important also to enjoy life, to have fun in life. And as a child, to have fun in life without the responsibility of an adult. So then you can when you do become 48, you can go back to enjoying life like a kid. Your children should have grown up by then and everything like that. There's a lot less responsibilities.
And hugely important from a woman's perspective at that age is knowing who you are. As in, if you've just spent the last 20 years raising your children and putting everything into your children and being a mum, it's quite common that at 48 or what you suddenly you've kind of forgotten that you're not just a mum, you are a person.
Your principal job's been taken away.
And it's a huge transition to make sense of all of that.
I think probably the biggest advice to anyone before that age, certainly from 24 onwards, is even though you're living life, don't forget to enjoy a piece of the cake for you. So when you make a cake, make sure you keep a piece for you, so you enjoy your life all the way through, and you do activities which are good for you. You don't sacrifice yourself 100% to the world around you, which is lovely, it's very nice. But otherwise...
Well, it's also hugely important for your children to see you living life.
Major,
so that they can learn those exact same things.
And that they can live life as well. Yeah. It's really important. So, they're the fundamental rhythms of life.
Did you want to talk about the solar cycles and how that comes in? Like, it's one of your favourite topics.
I know, I love the sun. I love the sun because it's nice and warm and everything like that. But... solar cycles. So solar cycles is around about sort of 10.5 years. We will go into another video on the sun at some point and how it affects you in the way of for illnesses and so forth. But here I just wanted to touch on briefly the rhythms of when you are born. So you have high cycle, solar. So you have a solar cycle that lasts around about 10.5 years, as I said. And let's say we take it from the lowest point of activity of the sun, because then that's called low cycle. And then it goes through a transition of around about 18 months. Okay. And then it usually has sort of like 18 months, 2.5 years. Yeah. And then we have a high cycle where there's a lot of activity, solar flares, sunspots, that sort of thing. That's that fire and air energy. I go into the energy update. Make sure you see that. You'll get it every week. And then you've got a lot of, everything seems to be really vibrant and everything like that. And then you've got to transition again. So we go back into that filament energy, very emotional, reflecting on the past, seeing what we've done. And then we come down to the lower part of the cycle, which lasts around about, the high cycle usually lasts around about 3 years, and the low cycle lasts around about 3 years. So once you put 2 years on the transition point, we get that 10.5 year cycle. And knowing where we're born on that is really important. So people who are born in high cycles tend to be optimistic and sometimes can be overly optimistic about things.
And quite extroverted.
People who are born on low cycles tend to be a little bit more introverted and a little bit more pessimistic. And then you have the cycle, the part where it's going up, where people tend to see the world with a half glass full and half glass empty. And on the descent, they tend to see things that are half glass empty and a half glass full. It's a very fine line between the two. So, we go into the solar cycles. You can find it. I'll try and find a link. I'll put a link in the video so you can see and you can play with the cycles and you can see where you're born. And then it also helps to show you when you are being optimistic over the past sort of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever number of years you look back over.
And you have
see
looked
how
at,
it affects
and,
yourself.
and you have looked at historical events as well,
Yeah.
not necessarily tying in with the humans, but looking at wars and things like that, so that in periods of high activity, and just generational changes, punks and mods and actual sort of
we
fashion
went from
changes.
the hippies to the punks and anarchists and the mods and rockers and the 70s. Grunge came out from the summer of love. Complete polar opposites. But when you look at them in the solar cycles, it becomes obvious. And you can take these cycles all the way back, quite literally thousands of years, because ancient cultures such as the Mayan tribes and also the Egyptians also followed on those rhythms there. And that's for a video for another day, totally. But very interesting, which we will go into. But actually just seeing how this evolves within humans, it gives you also a heads up of what's coming down the line. So we've already done way over the time what we wanted to do. We wanted to go into the particular rhythms on the traumas and how this can really help you. So I think we're going to have to let you sit with that, let you do an exploration, and we'll do a part 2 once you've done an exploration within your life. Because if you do this exploration, it's going to help you to help yourself by engaging with these rhythms.
And a starting point could be just the simple exercise of getting a piece of paper and a pen and writing down major life events. Write down the years from zero, literally make a timeline and just look at your sort of major life events. And I can guarantee you'll be surprised by what comes up.
I find house moving the most flagrant of rhythms, the most obvious of rhythms. You can really, I certainly admit I can sit a mile off.
Yeah, everybody's life, obviously their paths are different. One other thing that we did want to talk about very briefly was the karmic path as well. Or is that going to go into the next
That'll
video?
go into the next one, because we're going to talk about the karmic path, how traumas affect you, how to find solution for those repeating, or what we heard as well, someone commented about backfiring.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the person who commented. Do apologise. Lovely to see you. Thanking you very much for your comment. We will go into how it backfires if we visit these traumas. This shouldn't happen in the future if we can deal with everything that is around it. And one of the things that is around it is our karmic path. The things that we've come back to this planet to explore as an experience. And every experience is then logged in the Akashic Library for the collective human memory. And that's why we're here. We're here to do experiences. So there's trauma is a great part of it. It can be a very horrific part of it. I agree. But then maybe that's why we've come to what we've come to experience. And your experience is important. And investigating and exploring how to make your traumas and turning them from negative into positive is a major step. The moment you can do that, life will become a lot easier.
By logging those cycles within your life, those are the opportunities to be able to pinpoint, to be able to turn things around. So you have opportunities to turn those traumas around.
Totally. We'll try and get the second part of this video out next week. So give you at least a week to go in seeing it. If you're seeing part 2 already, go back to see part 1. If you're on here, part 1, and then after that time, we'll find it linked around the top of our heads. There you go. I hope these conversations help you to confront life in a very positive way. I hope this also helps you to understand a lot more about your life and also about energy and so forth. Because when life is good for you, it's actually good for everybody else. That's why we do this. It's a very egotistical thing, I guess.
That's sharing and collectively helping everybody, including ourselves.
We love it. Okay, so yes.
Until the next time.
Yeah, don't forget, life should be fun. And ciao for
now.